Hiya, I'm Maz and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing my making process as I create some small trinket bowls on my pottery wheel for the first time. So I've just finished wedging out these 6 balls of clay. I'm going for 200 grams and the plan is for me to make some small trinket bowls. I'm feeling a little bit nervous because I haven't actually thrown any balls on my wheel for quite a long time, and this is a completely new shape. I usually sort of go for more of a pasta dish style, so it's a bit wider and a bit shallower, whereas I want to make these a little bit sort of deeper, to be honest. So we'll see how it goes. Wish me luck. So I start off by getting my pottery wheel ready. I've recently invested in this Hartley & Noble batting system and I cannot recommend it enough. I'll share a link in the description for those of you that want to go check it out. It has all these interlocking bats which make it super fast and easy to get your pieces off of the wheel head. So once the clay is on the wheel, it's time to start throwing. I start by centering the piece of clay. I do this through a process of raising the clay up and down until I'm happy it's central on the wheel head and there are no wobbles. I always find this the messiest part of the process, as you need to use a lot of water or slip to raise the clay up and down with ease. Once the clay is centered, it's time to start throwing the inside of my bowl. I use my thumbs to create a hole in the center of the clay, and then I pull outwards to create the inside shape. Because of the style of bowl I'm throwing, I want to keep the inside smaller at this stage. I want the sides of the bowl to curve outwards so the top is wider than the base. So I'll need to wait until I've got the correct height for my bowl before shaping the wider rim. Once I'm happy with the height, I move on to shaping the clay. For those of you with a keen pottery eye, you might notice that I throw both upwards and downwards when I do my shaping, moving my hands and distributing the clay in both directions. As far as I'm aware, this is a little unusual, but was something that I was shown on a weekend pottery course I did back when I first fell in love with clay. I personally find it helps keep the clay more stable when throwing and reduces the wobbles and twists that can sometimes form when pulling the clay upwards unevenly. I always find this stage of throwing the most volatile as the clay is thinner and at its most delicate. It takes far more concentration as I try not to make any mistakes that might cause a little clay disaster. I leave throwing the rim of my pots till last, as when it is thicker it often helps offer some support and structure to the piece. So I only finish the rim when I'm happy with the rest of the bowl and I'm ready to start finishing it off. Once I'm satisfied with my bowl, it's time for me to tidy up the base. I use this sharp metal tool to get in close to the base of the bowl, but because I will be trimming the bases of these bowls, I don't spend too much time on this stage. I basically just want to make sure my bowl will come off the bat neatly when it's dry enough. I use this wire to slice under the base of my bowl so that it will lift away easily from the bat when dry. Then it's time to take this bowl off my wheel and pop it on my shelves to dry out. And here are my 6 bowls thrown and ready to dry out. So I'm in my very lovely sunny new studio today. Look at all of that sun. And I am just having a little check on the bowls that I threw yesterday. I covered them up to try and slow down some of the drying, just to make sure that they don't crack or warp. That came out a bit wrong then. This one, sadly, I threw the base a little bit too thin. I'm not sure how well you can see that. There we go. So I threw the base a little bit thin, and then I'm pretty sure it just dried a little bit too quickly and cracked. So yeah, them drying too fast is not something I've really had to worry about at all over the winter months. So I definitely need to get myself sort of into the swing of it being warmer now, and it actually does warm up quite a lot in this studio. So yeah, maybe need to adjust how I'm putting them so that they don't, you know, sort of risk cracking in the same way. But like I said, that one, the base was definitely too thin, so that would be why it cracked. So we're now down to 5 bowls. I'm going to take them off of the bats, and then I'm going to have a little go at just trimming them up slightly on the wheel. Yeah. So they're looking pretty neat, to be honest, as they are. So I think I'm gonna just do a very light trimming sort of in the central part, sort of make it more of a rounded shape. That's the plan anyway. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, I'm gonna leave these two out for a little bit on my plaster sort of potter's bat, which just basically helps sort of soak some of the moisture out of it. They're just a little bit too soft still, and they wouldn't really coat very well with going on the wheel at the moment and being trimmed. They kind of need to be a lot more what we call leather hard, and at the moment they're still sort of in a place where they can kind of be a little bit bruised and warped. So I'm just going to leave those for now, but I think because it's such a nice day, and how the weather's been, there's a good chance they'll probably be dry enough by the time that I've trimmed the other 3. So before I can start trimming, I need to get the bowls centered on my wheel head. I have recently been teaching myself how to tap center. It's a process where you use your hands to tap the piece into the center by gently striking it with your fingers. As you can probably tell, I'm still in the process of learning this new skill. I find the hardest bit is being able to tell when it's actually centered, as you just have to rely on your sight and being able to recognize when the piece is actually moving centrally on the wheel head. Sometimes I tap center it quite quickly, but start over as I'm still building my confidence and recognising when it's ready, and so I might have to go through the process more than once to be able to see, yeah, that definitely is centred and ready to go. Tap centering always makes me a little bit nervous, to be honest. It's always fine, but it always makes me feel a little bit nervous. I think this is the problem. The further you get into the process of having made your pieces, the more stressful it feels whenever you're doing the next step, because there's always a risk that you're going to do something wrong. The final step before starting the trimming process is securing the bowl to the wheel head. I use soft clay to stick it in place. I have to be really careful not to move the bowl when I do this, as then I'd have to go back to tap centering it to get it back to center. Once it's secure, I can start trimming. I've only recently started trimming my bases. It was something I always admired on other potters' pieces, but I'm self-taught, so it's something I didn't invest time in learning right away, as I was busy developing my throwing skills. It took less time than I thought it would to learn the basics, and it is now one of my favourite pottery processes. I love throwing, but it is very messy. I mean, clay is essentially mud after all. But trimming is a lot cleaner, and just in general, there's a lot of cleaning involved in pottery. Like, a lot more than people think. And when you add my ADHD into the mix, my interest-focused brain can find the tidy up challenging at times. Once I'm happy with the base, I take this metal tool and use it to smooth the surface of the clay. It's a technique called burnishing. It's where you essentially polish the surface of the clay. Now I'm only doing it slightly here, but you can burnish the clay so much that it can create this extremely shiny surface. To finish off, I decide to add an ornamental swirl to the base. Once I'm satisfied with the base, it's time to take the bowl off the wheel. So after I finished trimming my first bowl, I finished the others, and thankfully there were no clay disasters. I basically try not to get too attached to my pieces until they're actually glazed. They've come out of the, the kiln firing and they're ready to have their bases sanded. At that point, I feel like I'm able to allow myself to make a proper emotional attachment to the piece. But that being said, by the time I've painted it, if it is quite a detailed piece, once I finish painting it with underglazes, at that point, however much I try, I have become emotionally attached to that piece, which is why I think dip glazing them and doing the glaze firing is always the most stressful part of the process for me, because by that point, because of the detailed sort of painting that I do on my pieces, I've sometimes spent like 9 hours on one piece. It's a lot of time to fall in love with that piece of work and develop that emotional bond. So that's me all done, finished trimming my bowls, and then basically what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to have a nice deep clean of my studio because I haven't done it in a while, and yeah, the floor's looking a little bit dusty, which obviously is not very healthy for me being in here. So I'm going to basically wipe everything over, give it all a deep clean, mop the floors, and yeah, that's me done for the day. So thank you so much for joining me on this video. I really appreciate your support, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!